This is Road Noise, episode number 41. Court your spouse, the secret to an energized marriage. Hello and welcome again to Road Noise, life 1 mile at a time. I'm your host, Michael Blackston, and you're sitting alongside me as I commute on my way to Carbon Hill, Alabama. This morning, it's 10:08 Eastern Time. If you hear the sound of something under my voice, that's just the sound of the road, hence the reason I call it Road Noise. And today I'm going to talk about marriage a little bit. I've been married almost 22 years. Coming up in March, it will be 22 years, so what, a little less than 21 and a half, I guess. And I've had some thoughts about marriage a lot here recently because my marriage is great. My marriage is strong. But like most marriages, especially ones that have been around for 20-odd years, things can get a little stale. Things can get a little ho-hum. And I've decided that I don't want that in my marriage. I want my marriage to stay vibrant and strong and energetic. And I thought it was the perfect opportunity to talk about something that I have some experience in, and you listening may have even more experience in it. But if you're married, sometimes you can just get in that spinning your wheels in the mud, stuck in second gear kind of mentality. And everything's fine, but that's just it. It's fine. And so my question to you is, do you really want that in your marriage? Do you really want your marriage to be fine? Or do you want your marriage to be extraordinary? Do you want it to be lively and energetic? I do. And so I've decided that I have created problems for myself, and I figured out ways that I'm going to fix that. And it's not that I have come up with any sort of eureka thing. What I'm about to tell you, marriage counselors will tell you the same thing, and they have been telling their clients for years and years and years. And I've not gone to marriage counseling. I haven't felt like I had to. The closest I came was when I admitted to my wife about having an addiction to pornography, but we didn't need marriage counseling. We took care of it ourselves, and actually that has strengthened our marriage through that struggle and through that fight. But still, the day-to-day thing about being married, if you've gone any length of time where the honeymoon is over, you might know what I'm talking about. And so, like I said, these things are going to be things that you may have read before, but it doesn't hurt to hear them again, or if it's the first time, maybe it will be a eureka moment to you. I've heard them before, and they were a eureka moment for me anyway, because it hit me again. It just, you know how you'll hear things over again, but it just takes that one time before it finally just clicks in place and you say, you know what? That's right. I need to see things in that way. And that's what I feel happened to me this past week, and why I've decided to make making your marriage energetic, or how to have an energetic marriage, the topic of this episode. Now, if you paid attention at the very beginning, you notice what the main theme is, and that is court your spouse. When we're dating, we are in show mode. We're in a frame of mind where we have to puff up our feathers and squawk. We have to show the person that we're courting that we're the one they want. We have to try to make the sale. And a lot of times that happens all throughout the dating process. But then, many times, quote unquote, after the honeymoon is over, we sort of let everything die down. We've got the one we were going for. We caught the fish. We trapped the butterfly. You know, we've got it. A lot of times, we don't mean to think this way, but we start feeling like the work is done. And that's when complacency starts setting in, and you start kind of getting lazy and just letting things ride, just going with the flow. And if that's great for you and great for your spouse, then great. But it's not for me. I like excitement. I like to think that my marriage is always fresh. I want to fall in love with my wife again, over and over every new day. And I think this is a way to do this. If we kind of keep our minds on the things that I'm about to tell you, I think it's a way that you can do this. Now, like I said, I've been happily married to my wife for almost 22 years. I can speak on this. I do have that experience. But I have been a part of the common pitfalls. There are some common pitfalls that most marriages after this amount of time will fall into. And I'm going to list them right now. First of all, I mentioned it earlier, you get lazy. What I mean by that is when you first started going out on your date, think about this. If you've been married for any good amount of time, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, even longer than that, think about this. What did you do as you were preparing for that first date, that second date, even the 5th or 6th date? What did you want to do physically? You wanted to make yourself, your appearance, something that the other one would adore. You wanted to really prep up for them. Ladies, you spent hours in front of the mirror making sure your makeup was just right. Guys, you made sure that if you had a beard, it was trimmed just right, or if you needed to shave, that you got that shave just as close as you could, and you were nice and dapper, and you threw on some cologne. Ladies, you threw on your best perfume. You put on your best matching clothes, and you tried to look good for the person you were trying to get. Now, if you've been married, and you think about that, because I can remember mine even after 24 years from when we had our first date, I can remember it like it was yesterday. So jump forward, and you've been married to that person for however long you've been married to them, and think about the last time you went out. The last time you said, let's go get dinner, or let's go see a movie. What did you do? Did you throw on a hat? Did you throw on a wrinkled button down over the old t-shirt you were wearing today? Did you throw on some jeans? Did you give them the smell test because you needed some jeans and they were lying in the hamper and they were in the dirty clothes hamper, but you gave them the smell test and they were okay, so you went ahead and put them on anyway? Did you put on your dirty work shoes? It may not be that extreme, but there was probably some semblance of that because you're complacent, you've got your wife, it's who she sees, and that's true. There's some good that comes out of being you. But did you try? I'm here to tell you that for both sexes, because ladies, did you put on makeup? Did you say, like my wife has said a few times, I'm not going to wear any makeup, is that okay? And of course, what am I going to say? No, honey, you must put some makeup on that face if I'm to go out with you. Of course not. I think my wife's gorgeous without makeup. But that's not the point. I think we get lazy about our appearance. We decide we've already got the person. Why do I need to try to catch him anymore? I'm not trying to catch anybody else's eye. Most psychologists, I think, will agree with me that a husband and a wife still wants their partner to look good on their arm when they go out. You want to be the person that other ladies look at. Ladies, the man on your arm, you want to be able to say, that's mine. No touchy. There have been times in my marriage, a lot of times in my marriage, because I got really complacent, that I just threw on a hat, went scruffy, didn't shave, didn't really care about my appearance at all. We were going to dinner and a movie, and we're married. We've been married for 20 years. Who cares? And my wife really didn't pay attention to it, but at the same time, it was nothing that she could be really proud of. She couldn't look over to me next to her in the car, or as we're walking through the mall or walking into the movie theater and say, that's mine. I'm proud of the fact that I can say he's mine. I think that's number one. We get lazy. Number two, in the area of pitfalls to avoid, is our attitude. And that's the same thing, the attitude I just mentioned. I've been married for however many years. I don't need to. What do I care? What does she care? The honeymoon's over. A lot of people have that attitude. I'm just not going to bother with it. I've got too much at work going on. When I come home, I don't want to have to work on myself just to be accepted. So we have this attitude of laziness as well, and then we have a home ethic of laziness. I'm not going to assign anything as far as duties at home to any gender, because nowadays most men and women work. My wife is a professional. She works at a bank. I am a professional. I'm away from home all the time. We both have our work schedules that we have to contend with. So the duties of the housework kind of fall to both of us. It's not the little lady staying at home keeping the house clean anymore. That's not what happens. That's not my wife's job. My wife's job is to earn part of the income and do as much of the work as she can do at home to help me. And my part of my job is to do my part of earning the income. And when I come home, I do an equal portion of work at home. I actually tend to do a little more housework simply because I like housework. Now, children enter into the picture in a lot of this, and it creates that laziness that I'm talking about. And it's not as much laziness, I think, sometimes as it is exhaustion. Sometimes, maybe lazy wasn't the right word to use, but I'm going to stick with it because I think it's a mindset. I think we're exhausted and we just let these things fall. But house tending for both genders is an issue that we can find ourselves in a pitfall that we need to avoid. We need to put our time in for each other and show each other that we love each other. And I think keeping a good house is a good way to do that. So those are the three ways we can get lazy that I kind of pinpoint out is appearance, attitude, and home ethic. But we can also get bored. After a while, you know every one of your spouse's clicks. You know the things that make them tick. You know how he or she brushes her teeth. You know the sound the water's going to make when it hits the sink when they spit. I mean, every little detail you've spent. You get bored. That's not an insult again to your spouse. It's just the fact that it's human nature. We constantly need something new to keep our interest. And if our spouse is not being new to us, trying to be interesting to us, not giving that a shot, then we get bored. And if you're the same way, if you're not doing anything to keep your spouse's interest, he or she is going to get bored. It doesn't mean they don't love you, but they will get bored. And that can start that complacency and start where you just live life as it goes, day by day, ho-hum, with nothing to look forward to. Another day, another dollar, and that's it. And it just gets boring. Another pitfall to avoid is, like I said, we get complacent. Won't spend a lot of time here because I've kind of meted that out over the last two or three things that I've talked about. The whole thing I've been mentioning will cause that complacency in your life and in your marriage, and you just are okay with it. That's what complacency means, being okay with the way things are. Maybe you don't need to be. If you are perfectly happy and you wake up in the morning with a smile on your face because of the way your marriage is going, not just okay with it, but if you wake up in the morning excited about your marriage, that means you're not complacent. But if you're complacent, my opinion, and it's just my opinion, if you're complacent with your marriage, there's an issue. I think every marriage ought to be exciting to the person involved and people involved. And finally, one of the pitfalls to avoid is we can get selfish. Again, like I mentioned when I was talking about your appearance, you can be thinking about yourself. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I just got off of work. I don't feel like going the extra mile for my spouse. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like putting on makeup. I don't feel like doing something with my hair before we go out, so I'm just going to put on a baseball cap because it's easy. You can get selfish. This is not me pointing a finger at any one person. This is me pointing a finger in the mirror at myself, and that's what I've done the last week. I realized I'm that person. Every one of these pitfalls, I was right at the bottom of every one of the pits. I've been lazy. about my appearance. I've been lazy about my attitude towards how I was going to go about my marriage. Not angry, lazy. I've been lazy about my home ethic. I've kind of started to slack off and not do some of the things that are my chore to do. Some of the things that really maybe not even are my chore to do, but because I love my wife, I can serve her by taking them for her. I've gotten lazy in some of those areas. I've gotten bored. Honestly, I've got an almost 12-year-old son and an almost 3.5-year-old daughter. And I've gotten bored because they take so much of my time that I really am so exhausted I don't feel like doing anything else, which goes into the laziness, into the selfishness. But sometimes I don't feel like I've got it in me to create anything. And because there's nothing creative, I'm just bored all the time lately. And I realized that. I've been complacent. I was okay with it. I gave myself an excuse. I said, well, the reason this is kind of going this way is because I'm okay with it. I do have a strong marriage. I do love my wife. We've been through a lot, and times are a little bit better now. Money is not as tight as it used to be. For the first time in our 20 years, money is not all that tight, even though we still rent and we're trying to save up for a house and trying to fix our credit so that we can be given a loan, a mortgage for a house, a move we're planning to make toward Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'm hoping that we'll be able to make within the next 2 or 3 years. And so we've got good plans and things are going well, but that's just it. They're going well and I'm fine. I'm complacent. And I've also been selfish. Selfish with my time, selfish with my appearance, selfish with my affection. And not in a way you may be thinking. I'm not talking about in a sexual manner. I'm talking about the only time I really would touch my wife or hug my wife or just show her some physical touch, some physical, non-sexual, or any time I would do that would be when I was in a sexual mood. And it gets to the point you'll realize where if you notice your wife or you notice your husband not responding, maybe it's because they feel like they don't realize they feel like they're being used, but they understand that the only time you're touching them is because you're looking for something. And I realized my wife needs more than that. It's not something that I'd ever thought of. It just sort of happened due to laziness, complacency, and a little bit of selfishness on my part. So I've been in those pits. I didn't avoid the pitfalls, and I've been at the bottom. The beautiful thing is all of those pits have vines and branches that you can climb out of if you just can recognize them. You can grab onto them, and you can climb right out of that pit, and you can automatically, in just a second, spark up your life. Not just your love life, but your entire marriage. And so how do I do that? What do I do? How do I avoid the pitfalls? First, I think you get intentional. I think the first thing you got to do is recognize, like I did this past week, just exactly what's going on. I think you need to be honest with yourself and say, you know what? That is me. I have been that person. I have been lazy. I've been complacent. I've been bored. I've been selfish. And of course that's going to have an effect on my marriage. Of course things are just going to be lackluster. You need to be intentional. You need to say, this has been partly my problem. You don't have to take all the blame on yourself. Your spouse may be half of the problem, maybe more of the problem. But if you recognize it and you're intentional about doing something about it, it doesn't have to be your spouse. They will usually respond in kind if your marriage is strong. If you do what I'm about to tell you and your spouse does not respond, then you may have a deeper issue and there may be some communication that you and your spouse need to have about the strength of your marriage and maybe some counseling and stuff like that. Because usually if you'll do these things, your spouse will immediately respond in a positive manner and your marriage will be spiked and sparked. So first, get intentional. Realize it's something that you can change and decide to make that change. Second, get excited about it. How do you feel when it's something you love, like guys, if it's fishing or sports, or well, let's use this for example. I speak on the perspective of guys a lot because I'm a guy. College football is on its way. It's less than 50 days from the kickoff to the University of Georgia football season, and I am on cloud nine. I'm excited about what we've got coming in. We've got a new coach. We've got a new group of great recruits coming in. It's not expected to be the best season ever because we've got a lot of young talent who have to learn, but the future is bright for the University of Georgia, and that's my team, and I am excited. I'm also excited for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm an NFL fan. All of that, football season is coming up, and I can almost feel a vibration in the air. Fall is around the corner. I love fall, and I'm excited for it. And I get up in the morning with this kind of pep in my step because it's all coming. My favorite time of the year is almost here. It's right around the corner, and I can feel it. I'm excited about it. Well, you're supposed to love your spouse more than that stuff. I don't know, ladies, for you, it might be, I don't know, I don't want to be sexist here. I don't know what it might be because I'm not a lady, I can't tell you, but you get the picture. You can put something in your mind. You're supposed to love your spouse more than that. You're supposed to love them more than your hobbies, more than your interests, more than your friends. So, how do you react when you think, I'm going to re-energize my marriage? Is it something where you go, well, I'm going to re-energize my marriage, but football season's around the corner, I can't wait? No, it needs to be just the opposite of that. You need to have more excitement for re-energizing your marriage than anything else. Get excited about it. Get energized. Get hopping. Get on fire for your marriage and be excited about this prospect that things are going to be back like they were when you were dating, when you first fell in love. Get excited about it. Next, get creative. Service for your spouse is a big deal. I may do an entire episode based on the 5 love languages. There are several people who do education in the 5 love languages, and there's one in particular, I can't even remember what the guy's name is, but it was a popular book, the 5 love languages, I think that's what it was called. Anyway, I've taken a couple of classes in Sunday school and stuff on it, and I know a little bit about it. I know that mine is service. I like to be helped. When I'm doing housework, I like my wife to join in. Not to do it for me, but to join in and help. To show that she loves me because I love a clean house. You probably recognize that because I've done the whole defrag in your house, and I talk a lot about keeping a clean house. And frankly, our house isn't very clean because we do have 2 young children and 2 working adults. So we have a hard time keeping a clean house. But I like to try, and I love it when my wife jumps in there and helps me because that's my love language. I am the type of person who likes acts of service. I'm not sure what they all are, but if you're interested in the 5 love languages, then maybe I'll put a link to something basic on the show notes about it. It would be fantastic if you and your spouse would actually take the test together and figure out what your love languages are and then talk about them, because that immediately helps the creative side. It helps you to figure out what you can do to show your wife or your husband in the way that they understand best that you love them. And getting creative is all sorts of things. I sent my wife flowers after 20 years of marriage. I sent her flowers just because to work last Friday. I knew Friday was going to be a busy time. I knew she was going to be frustrated. It's just Fridays are usually a busy time at a bank. And I knew a bouquet of flowers, fresh cut flowers, at her window would make a difference to her. It would brighten her day. And it kind of show her, on Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and stuff like that, when everybody's getting stuff like that, it really doesn't make much of an impact. But if you send your spouse, guys, women, I doubt your husband's going to want you to send him flowers. He may, I don't know, but this is specifically for husbands sending them to wives, if you send her flowers just because, just saying, I love you, that's what I put on my card, just because I love you, it makes a difference. Although it's not all that creative, maybe it's creative for you, it's creative for me. In the past, I've always thought about my wife, because she's the type of person who she doesn't care too much for flowers, because she's always saying, they're a waste of money and they die. And in the past, when we were really tight on our finances and budget, I would never have sent her flowers, because she would have thought they were sweet, but that it would also have gone into the back of her mind that, oh my goodness, we could have used that money for something better. Well, now finances aren't as tight, and while I can't afford to send her flowers every week, doing it once in a while, she didn't think about the cost. She didn't worry about the cost. All that she saw was that I did something special and nice and something just for her. The other ladies in the bank weren't getting flowers that day. It was just for her. It made her the focal point. And so for the first time in 20 years, I've sent her flowers before on the normal times, but for the first time in 20 years, I sent her flowers just on a random day, just because. And it turned her heart, she said. She said her heart just did flips inside her chest. She said it was wonderful. People kept asking about it. It made her think of me all day. And her love was always there, but she reciprocated when we got home. This great big hug and kiss that's not normal, because we're complacent. Just that one little thing created a spark. So get creative, and it may be writing her a song and performing for her. Ladies, it may be whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It's you and your spouse and your relationship. You know what it would take. And if you don't, then think on it for a while, but get creative in different little ways to surprise him or her and show him your love. Get physical. I'm not talking sexual here. Usually when you get physical, the way I'm going to talk to you as a husband and wife, a lot of times it will turn. I don't want to say usually. I said usually, I didn't mean that. I should say a lot of times, many times. It can turn sexual, but that's not the end game. That's not your intention. Your intention in getting physical is to show him that you still find them attractive, that you still want to be near them, that you still want to touch them. Physical touch, that is one of the 5 love languages. I happen to know that is one of them, physical touch. I think that may be my wife's. I need to go back over this with my wife. I've asked her several times, and because I'm an idiot, I keep forgetting exactly which one, because you'll have the number 1 attribute, and then they'll be listed in order of importance below, and I can never remember what number 1 and number 2 are. I get them mixed up, but I know physical touch is either 1 or number 2. And what that means is, say, guys, that your wife is washing the dishes after a meal. Going up to her and just touch her on the back. Just a little hand to the back and a kiss on the cheek and whisper in her ear, I love you. Thank you for what you do. Verbal affirmation also, I should probably add this into the show notes, verbal affirmation, but usually that type of thing goes with physical touch. Just hold her hand when you're walking through the parking lot. And don't make her take your hand. Grab her hand. Or ladies, if you're the one to first think about it, grab his hand. Show him or her that you want to be physically connected and not just in a sexual way. A kiss before work every morning. A good, long, passionate kiss before work every morning. You want to rejuvenate your sex life? Kiss your partner passionately before you leave for work every morning. It has been scientifically proven that passionate kissing first thing in the morning will create it'll fire off some sort of something in your brain, and you will think about that all day, and you will get geared up and fired up all day long. And when you come home, the fire is already lit, or at least kindled. a good passionate kiss in the morning on the way home. I can't really do this because my wife is usually asleep when I head off for work, but I always give her a kiss before I go and tell her I love her. Always. Never fail. Hugs are huge. A lot of women, unless your woman is not a hugger or unless your man is not a hugger, most people enjoy from someone as close to them as their spouse a nice, warm embrace. It just squeezes out so much negativity and forces in so much positivity between you. Hugs are wonderful. And listen, one of the most important things about showing your husband or your wife that you love them is just to shut your mouth and listen to them. Husbands, don't try to fix it. If your wife has had a bad day and she wants to rant about it or bend your ear, you listen. And by the way, hold her hand. Take up her hand in yours while she's telling you that, and look her in the eye. And don't just nod and think about football. Listen. Nod and approve while you're understanding what she's saying. Hold her hand. And then when she's done, take her and hold her. Give her that hug. And just say, I'm so sorry. I wish I could have been there to hold you then, but I can hold you now. Same thing, ladies, with your guy. Your guy needs to vent too. He may do it in a different way. And sometimes guys like to distance themselves. But at least you can ask if they'd like to talk about it. They may say no. From a guy's perspective, I can tell you, he may say, no, I don't want to talk about it. And let him steam. But at least make the effort. Let him know that you are here to listen. Did I miss anything? Are you somebody who's been married for a long, long time, and you can, or even for a short time, and you've got some wisdom that I haven't shared yet? I know I didn't mention really communication, but that kind of is inherent throughout the whole thing. This whole thing is about communication. Because if you do all of these things, you will be communicating a lot. But more specifically with communication, if you're having trouble with something, if you're having a problem with something your spouse is doing, please communicate with them. Let them know in a loving way, not in a blaming sort of fashion, but in a loving way. Let them know that there's an issue and something you would like. Let them know you want to fix it, not that you want them to fix something. Let them know that you are wanting to fix whatever is going on because you cherish your marriage. If you'll communicate and if you'll follow the example that I've given you in these bullet points here, and I'll go back over them, then I think you'll spark up your marriage. The main point is to keep it interesting and to be active and intentional about keeping it interesting. A fire will blaze at first, but it will always die and eventually smolder if you don't keep stoking it. If you don't add kindling to the fire so that it will have something to flame to, and if you don't put the effort in the form of stoking, that fire will die. Look at your marriage like a fire. It can blaze hot depending on how much attention and how much kindling you give it. And all of that is up to you. So, again, here are the pitfalls to avoid. Avoid being lazy in your appearance, your attitude, and your ethic at home. Avoid getting bored. Avoid getting complacent. And avoid getting selfish. How do you do that? Well, like I said, you get intentional. Get excited. Get creative. Get physical through touching, hugs, kisses, holding hands, just a little playful swat or bump of the hip, things that show you want to be near them and that you want to touch them. And get listening. Pay attention to what's going on in your spouse's life that's important to them. And then show them that because it's important to them, it's important to you. All of that is stuff you can do to stoke your fire. And if you'll add the kindling like flowers and things like that, the accoutrement that go with it, that's the kindling, your fire will blaze. It will be hot. for as long as you're married. Now, I do urge you, if you have found that this stuff is not working and you're not getting a response from your spouse, I would urge you to go speak to your pastor or a marriage counselor or something. I'm a big proponent of staying together. I believe that marriages die because nobody stoked them. Take this advice, and if you need more, talk to a professional. And that's all I'm going to talk about on keeping your marriage stoked. I will speak from the standpoint of someone who is a child of divorce in the coming episodes. I'm not sure when I'm going to do that one, but I've started to mention that one. I have some deep, emotional episodes coming up in the future. I'm going to do them as I'm inspired to, but they're coming, and one of them will be on divorce. And I want you to be listening if you know someone or are a person who is a child of divorce or someone who's going through divorce. I can't speak as someone who is going through it or has gone through it, but I can speak from the perspective of a child. And so if you're someone who's even considering divorce, it's an important episode to be on the lookout for. I ask you humbly to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll tell you how you can do that at the end of the show. So let's tell you about my week real quick. That's pretty much it. I went to Cookeville, Tennessee, and last episode number 40, was recorded on the way to Cookeville, Tennessee. It's been fairly boring. I really don't have anything to tell you about my week, with the exception, because I'm not going to go into all of the details of my week of how I've been trying to stoke up my marriage, but I can tell you it happened. Friday, on the way back from Cookeville, I had to go through Chattanooga, and when I got there, I was supposed to do some work in the cemetery, and I got there and they had realized that they were incorrect about the details of the stone, and I wasn't actually going to do the work in the cemetery, so I didn't get that work. But I was okay because it's the middle of July, and it was on the outside in a cemetery. I didn't feel like pitching the pop-up tent that I use and doing all of the getting ready that I have to do when I'm working under the sun, so that I stay in the shade and not right directly under the sunshine, so that I would get burned and more skin cancers. So I was happy when he told me that he actually didn't have the work, and so I went through Chattanooga, and that was when it hit me right after I had lunch that I should send my wife some flowers, and I did, and she had the best reaction to that, and we had a great weekend. She asked me out on a date. You know what? I need to add this into the show notes. I need to add this into the bullet points. I hope you listened all the way to this point, because it's one of the main points I was going to make, and I didn't even talk about it. I didn't even put it in the show notes when I wrote them down. Shame on me. Have a date night. Have a date night with your spouse. My wife and I have decided that we are going to have a date night. Because of my schedule, we can't know exactly which night it's going to be every week, but every week we're going on a date. We're dating again. Because couples need a day or a night, a time, when they can do what they were doing when they were feeling young. When they can just spend time with each other, in each other's company and each other's company alone. Especially if you've got kids, that's really important. To have a weekly date night. That's a great way to kind of get the gears turning. And I am so sorry that I didn't add that in. Anyway, she asked me out on a date, and we went to dinner and a movie. It was a simple thing, but we went to dinner and a movie and just talked. And we had a great time just in each other's company. And this week's positive review is a book. I actually paused recording the podcast and went to look up the author of the 5 Love Languages, because I have read the book, and I think I'm going to buy the audiobook and listen to it again, probably here in just a few minutes, so I can listen to it while I work today. But the 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages, was a very popular, best-selling book probably 10 or 15 years ago, and it's still available today. You can get it through Amazon, and it is a high recommendation from me. If you want to spark up your marriage, you need to know what the love languages are for your spouse. And so I recommend this book, and it is a very positive review. It's The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. You can get it in audio form. I think you can get I know you can get it as an ebook, and you can also order it as a regular book on Amazon or other places like that. So that's the podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me, as I said earlier, did I miss something in this whole marriage, sparking up your marriage thing? Did I miss it? Was it something that was important that I should have said? I'm in my mid-40s, or getting toward my mid-40s. I'm in my early 40s officially. At the end of July 30th is my birthday. I'll be 43 years old, and I've been married for almost 22 years. I don't remember things as well as I should. And because I'm driving, I can't pay real close attention to bullet points and stuff like that. I got to pay attention to the road, so I may have missed something when I was trying to translate all of this information to you. And if I did, I want to know about it. How would you do that? You get in touch with me via all of the different methods. You can get in touch with me via email at feedback@michaelblackston.com. That's feedback@michaelblackston.com. You can get in touch with me via the website, www.roadnoisepodcast.com. There's a comment section there. There's also share features there and subscribe features there. So you can go to iTunes and subscribe and leave a rating and review, which I would really enjoy you doing that for me, if you don't mind, right there from roadnoisepodcast.com. And you can also call me on my comment line, 706-408-7456. That's 706-408-7456. Well, I'm coming into Birmingham. Traffic is getting a wee bit tight here on Highway 20 going into Birmingham, and so I'm going to go ahead and put the microphone down. I really appreciate you sitting beside me. My name is Michael Blackston, and you've been traveling alongside me in the passenger seat as we learn to live life 1 mile at a time.